families. Today, we've got a special episode. Two of my friends, Drew Tupper and John Israel, are here. What's up, boys? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Guys, we're gonna talk about coaching today. We're gonna talk about how to do it the right way and where we have failed. Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about you guys so that anybody out there listening just knows a little bit about your world. First of all, let me go to Drew. You have been with your wife for 18 years, 2 kids, a 9-year-old boy, a 6-year-old girl. You are a professional coach. You help family men, meaning dads and husbands, and you live in the Caribbean. Super jealous about that. So welcome to the show. And Izzy, John Israel, or is known by his good friends, Izzy, is a longtime buddy of mine. He's also a fellow front row dad. He lives about 3 hours north of me in Dallas, has been with his beautiful wife, Monica, for 13 years, has 3 kids, including a new 8-week-old baby brought into the family. But leading the way, he's got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, cutest kids in the world, but for the record. I just have images, by the way, John, of who was it? Was it Anderson? Who is in this little red car, and Monica would take him all over the world. And this, I remember she would travel with this little red car.
Yeah, we've got bumper stickers from the Caribbean. We went from when we went to the Bahamas. From just anywhere we would go, we'd bring the red car, and then we get a sticker on the back. So like a bumper sticker for like your normal car.
So cool, man.
So on our little red car, it's got like Austin, Texas, Portland, Oregon, just like stickers all over it. So
it was the coolest thing, man. It's like literally having a guitar with, you know, that you've traveled the world, but for kids. It's really neat. And one interesting thing about John, amongst many that I could list, is that for a year, John committed to writing 5 thank you cards a day for a full year without missing a day. It made such an impact on other people's lives, on his life, that he ended up writing a book about it and now speaks about this program. And that's why so many people refer to him as Mr. Thank You. So Johnny Israel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So guys, let's just jump right in. We have busy schedules today, limited time to talk. So let's jump right into this conversation of coaching. I wanted to get here largely because I continually make the same mistakes as a coach who is a family man. And what happens is I end up coaching where I shouldn't. And it really sparked a title that I can thank you for, John, that this idea of where we often mess up as coaches in our families. Like, just having more skills doesn't always equate to total success, right? Like, I'm going to figure out the coaching element so that I never mess up as a dad. Not going to happen. Let's go right to, we know you both are great coaches. You make money as coaches. You can teach people how to be great coaches, and we'll get there. But let's, for fun, start with where you've messed up your families with your coaching skills. John, let me go to you first, buddy. What comes to mind when I talk about making mistakes at home as a coach?
Yeah. So, and this is a bit of a distinction on coaching and advice giving. And it's kind of funny because before someone's trained as a professional coach, there's just like, well, what is coaching? Well, it's just, it's telling people what to do and giving them perspective they're not seeing. And well, to a degree, like on maybe the sports side, that is accurate. And, but before, ever really being formally trained as a coach, I mean, gosh, that's just what I was with my wife. It's like, as a business person, I have coaches and I have people who like help me perform. And, I just remember one day coming home and I was I was waking up and I was like lit, right? Like I did my miracle morning. I'm fired up. I'm positive. And I'm like, hey, sweetheart, what's going on? And I just like had all this energy, and she just looks at me just like, no, thank you. And just, and then she literally had to tell me, she's like, okay, you're right here. I need you like down right here because I didn't get much sleep last night. The kids were keeping me up. I got this I got to prepare for today. And just, I'm sorry, but I just wasn't ready for you to be there. And so for me, there was like this lesson of, coaching isn't just like showing up and just being the best and expecting everyone at their best. It's showing up and listening. And that was like right off the bat, just not a great way to start the day. And it was a lesson, and among many other lessons where I've tried to fix my wife for correct behavior or it's like, well, what if you try this? And it doesn't really work very well.
Johnny, how do you bite your tongue Because I know, like, literally the words are about to roll out of my mouth that, like, I'm giving advice or I'm asking a question, which I'm just asking a question, but really embedded in that question is massive amounts of, like, critique and advice giving, right? Like, I'm gonna frame this critique as a question because that technically makes it okay. It doesn't. How do you bite your tongue on that? And how often are you messing up? Like, because me, this is an ongoing struggle. I'm asking out of
Yeah.
personal need here.
So, what's funny about that, and everyone's got their different outlets of how they process things, but I'm a journaler. So for me, some people are like, oh, I want to pass my journals on to my children. And I'm like, I'm going to burn mine when I get cremated because I don't want anyone reading this stuff. Because, for me, I'm a highly emotional person. And sometimes I feel things or I want to say something and it's not the right thing. And so for me, it's really just been a practice of, like, if I'm upset or pissed, I will literally grab my journal and I'll write what I'm thinking, like, with no filter. And then I'll look at it and I'll be like, okay, do I really, like, what's going to happen if I say that?
Yeah.
And what's generally happened is that what's helped is before, like, even if I still feel like, okay, I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to confront her about blank, right? Whatever the issue is. And what I always try before I say something is I just ask a question to really just get her perspective. Like, so what are you feeling right now? What do you how are you feeling about blank that's going on? And then just getting that, asking the question gives me enough time to, number one, hear a perspective that is going to oftentimes deflate my upset. And it just gives me the space to kind of be like, oh, wow, like, yeah, I need to just chill out because she's got a way harder life than I do, staying at home with the kids, dealing with everything,
Yeah. Drew, I'm going to come to you in just a second. I want to ask you the same question, but Johnny, one last question on this train of thought is, do you think that question of how are you feeling is the most powerful question of all? Do you think that as a starting place, if a guy's like, give me something to lead with, give me step one, do you think that's the most powerful opening question?
Well, I think that we're all emotional human beings, and that is when someone tells you how they're feeling, right? Like the analogy I love to use is like a snow globe, right? So when we have major emotional charge and we're upset, imagine it's like you take a snow globe and you just shake it, right? And it's just hard to see. And then with time, it allows it to dissipate and fall to the bottom. And when you ask somebody how they're feeling, it speeds that process up, right? It allows them to just voice what they're feeling and the emotions, and just them doing that. The other part, there's an actual coaching term called acknowledging and validating, right? When someone says, this is how I'm feeling and this is what's going on, and then just to be able to refer back and say, wow, it sounds like it's really upsetting you when this happens, or, oh, what, and just saying that has somebody, like, their craziness that they're feeling, because we all feel this, women, men, but when someone hears them and they can, like, say, hey, you're a normal person to think or feel that way, it's like they say, it's like they can finally relax, and it's like that snow globe just kind of all settles to the bottom, and then people can think clearly, they can speak clearly, and I don't want to say they're, we get past the emotion to get to, I don't want to just say the logic, but like the clear thinking aspect of what we're trying to discuss.
Yeah, I so struggled with the acknowledging piece of, like, repeating back to somebody, because it felt so childish to me of, like, so what you just said is that you're feeling really upset and angry. And it's like, why do I have to say that? Of course I heard that. I'm listening. Like, why do they need me to repeat that back? But boy, when I've tried it, that's been such a big thing. And when people have done it to me, so John, if I get you, what you're feeling is this, I'm like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. It works on me. So why would I not think it wouldn't be effective with other people to acknowledge and empathize and just repeat back to them what they said? It's so great. Mm-hmm. Drew, let's go to you, man. Where have you messed up your family with coaching strategies?
Yeah, man, thanks. When I'm coaching well, I'm doing a lot of listening and holding space and creating space. And so I know, if I'm imagining conversations with my wife right now, I know that I'm not being a good husband when I'm not doing that, when I'm not listening and really caring about what she's thinking and feeling. And so when I hear myself talking a bit too much, like you mentioned, giving advice and not validating, I know that I'm getting into that advice giving and teaching and guiding, which in the beginning I thought was, like what John said, good coaching. here's a problem. Let me fix it. Tell me your problem. I'm going to fix it for you. I'll give you a couple things you can do. Boom. But what I've learned is that really good coaching really is about listening, holding space, creating space, and really caring about the person that you're across from and what they have to say, and letting them know that you care about them. And just like you guys said, validation is huge. And I love it too. When someone says back to me what I just said, it sounds so simple, but it feels so good. And like you said, John, like if I like it, then why would I do that for somebody else? And so I have to admit, there have been times where after a conversation, halfway through or even at the end, I've realized that I've been coaching my wife not in a great way, and I haven't been creating space, and I haven't been listening, and I haven't been validating, and I've had to apologize at the end. I've had to say, you know what, I think I was trying to steer you somewhere there. I think I was trying to fix your problems, and that's probably not what you want. You probably just want to be seen and heard and feel like I care about your life. And so I don't want to say how many times I've had to apologize, but it's been a number of times.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you just said there is really important in that dialogue. What I heard you say, Drew, is that, this idea of, hey, I just want to own the fact that I think I was trying to steer you there. Right. I've been noticing this not only with myself, but with other people too, that the distinction of asking questions where you're fishing for the answer, right? And where you're really trying to steer the dialogue by asking the questions. Because level one of coaching might be just ask questions, stop talking so much and ask questions. But then we start realizing that just a question isn't enough. It's what question we're asking and what is the heart behind that question. Are we really trying to get them to see, does it feel good, little Billy, when you're acting like an asshole? Like, right? These are not, that's a question. You told me to ask questions if I'm going to be a coach.